Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk number 323. Looks like a number that should somehow be relevant. I'm sure Mark, our numbers man, will have some sort of relevance to it. 3 plus 2 plus 3 is 8. I'm sorry to those. I was just having a bit of streaming issues. For some reason, the main computer here. I've had nothing but computer problems this week, and this is just a continuation, though. It's jumped to a different machine, so I'm terribly sorry if you're trying to watch the live stream. You'll have to wait till this is up on YouTube, because hopefully at least that part appears to be working. And there seems to be audio going into it, so I can only assume that that's working, although the audio seems to be. Anyway, I'm just going to stop rambling and say hello to my guests and thank them for joining me this sunny day. It's not as hot as it has been, but we'll say hello to Dave Spiers.
Hello.
How are you there?
It's still hot.
G4 Software. Dave Spiers, g4software.com.
Yes. Yes, I'm all right, thank you. Yes.
Good.
A bit phased. I'm sorry. I'm going to be fairly rubbish today because we've been pressing ahead with releasing some of the 64-bit stuff.
So you've been kind of busy doing your your day job.
Yes.
Oh well, congratulations, and I hope it's going well. Is that why you've got a smart shirt on?
No.
So you can look like you actually you're not sitting in your back bedroom in your pants like I do.
No.
Anyway, Dave, thank you very much for joining us, g4software.com. And we've also got over there Mark Tinley.
Hello.
Likebeing.com, also a member of the... no, that's got me. I was started on that sentence. I felt so confident going into it. TVManiamusic.com. Thank you very much. Yes, we're all discombobulated.
No idea what's going on with that at the moment, though. So, but I am a member. So you could. I think you should announce me as also a member of Aporee.
Aporee,
the band I'm doing with Robin Stewart, the other autistic person who I know, or person with Asperger's that I know.
Excellent. All right, that sounds cool. Thank you very much. Anyway, we're here this week. The weather's broken a little bit. It's been very hot for like 3 weeks in the UK. Although I just want a note of caution before I start. My main streaming machine or my mainstream recording machine was a Mac Mini, and the drive went down. And I thought, oh, no problem. I'll try and get the drive going, but I couldn't. I thought that's no problem. So. I'll just go to one of the disk images I made of it when I got it working as I wanted. Disk image failed to mount. No file system found. But the thing is, I've since discovered that this is the case on pretty much all of the disk images I've made on any machine to any drive. So if anybody's relying on compressed disk images as a backup, please do check it out, because I've found that because I immediately went, right, I'm going to go and back up my other laptop now because I just want to make sure that it's okay, and it was not. It didn't.
What application are you using?
Well, I'm just using the standard. I've tried several things. I've tried a standard, the disk utility to create a disk image. You think that would work? These are big drives. I've got 750 internal in this one. Waited ages and ages for it to come back online, and then it wouldn't verify. Same problem. No file system found in it. And this is across several different computers onto several different drives. It's not. There's no commonality to it apart from the fact that it's a compressed disk image. So if you are on OS X and that might be an issue for you, you should definitely check that. And if not, find perhaps another way, because I don't know whether it's because most of my machines are on 10.6.8. This Mac is on 10. What's this one? Oops, no, I don't want to do a software update. This one is on 10.7.5, but that didn't work either.
So can I absolutely recommend Carbon Copy Cloner, which is brilliant?
Yeah, you can. That's great. Apart from the fact that you need another drive of exactly the same size, whereas I thought.
No, you don't. You can
do it to a disk image.
To disk images, yeah. But I mean, maybe what you're saying about compressed disk images, I wouldn't do that anyway. I cloned I've cloned several computers, but I know it definitely works because the ProBook Mac that I built had a problem with the hard drive, so I cloned the hard drive, bought a new drive, and then restored it from the backup, and it worked perfectly. And
Yeah, I use Carbon Copy Cloner as well, but it doesn't compress the data. So you still need, if you've got a drive, well, if you've got a 100 gig drive, say for instance, you make a disk image that's not compressed, it creates a 100 gig disk image.
Yeah, sure.
So you don't. So you may as well just back it up to another drive, unless you've got an absolutely massive. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I've got several things all backed up to one big 4 terabyte drive that I go and hide in the garden shed.
Right. Okay. Well, I just want to, I will.
Everybody knows. Oh no! If anybody wants to steal all the Duran Masters, they're in my shed. Oh no! What have I done? I put it somewhere else now. Honestly.
There was a guy near here who used to, whenever he went out, he used to hide. I mean, this was a big house as well. He used to hide all the money and jewellery from his wife in a carrier bag in a like a just like a fence outside the front of his house, or in like a rose bush. It was brilliant. Wow. Front page paper when he got nicked. I reckon somebody just watched him for a few years and went,
What
is that he's putting in there? Yeah.
All the jewellery.
I just would like to say, lesson learned, and I've ordered a new drive, which was dirt cheap, which is great, but so now I have to rebuild the system. But I'm just a bit nervous that none of my backups are working, so I need to figure that out. I'm just going to try something. I'm being asked, can I just stream the audio without any video? I may be able to, and that might work. Let me just see.
I guess his insurance probably wouldn't have covered it if it was in a carrier bag in a hedge, would it?
No, it was hilarious.
Right, we'll see if that works up. Yes, what I need is a backup sponsor, you're right. But it's interesting because I'm normally very good at this and I usually do have backups. But what worried me was the fact that those disk images didn't work. So it might well be an issue that there is somewhere with that method. And like I say, across many different computers, different drives. And but the thing is, I also tried this. I tried to make a disk image using something called Copycat X, which is a pro bit of software for creating, and that disk image failed to verify as well. So I don't know exactly whether it's a system thing. I'm not sure.
Are you doing the disk image at root level?
Yeah.
Okay, that might have something to do with it, because I've got the disk has got several partitions on it. Just run your disk utility across the root of that drive and see what's happening on that drive, because I've got very slightly non-Mac compliant big terabyte hard drives with different Mac partitions on, and when I run disk utility on the partitions themselves, it verifies, but when I run it on the root of the drive, it actually says that there's a problem, although the drives seem to work perfectly. And so there is some kind of weird known issue with really big drives on that.
I'm not using a big drive. I've got, to be honest, I'm backing up to a 750 gig 2.5-inch drive that we just happen to have lying around. I just put disk images on that. Or whatever's lying around, to be honest. Anyway, I'm going to... but I just wanted to share that. So, yeah, do watch out if or do go and check it. So... apparently the live stream is working now, and I also want to say thanks very much also to our sponsors. We've got a sponsor, of course, Stutter Edit, Isotope. No competition this week, but I will be announcing the winner of the last week's competition. So should we start with the topic? This one I think will please. It features one of our very own chatties, so hopefully you can all enjoy. This is Mutable Instruments Ambika. As you see, it's in this very skeletal format. This is without case. This is made by our Asiohead, who's in the chat room right now. If you would care to... Well, there he is. I think he's just recognised himself. So this is the Ambika, and it's a sort of kit. You buy the PCBs and the various boards, and then you get a parts list and you build it yourself. And this is something that is made. This is, in fact, I'll just post a link in the chat room so you folks can see it. Let me just here we go. This is actually directly to. There's some monster stuff in here, actually. I love this one. Now, what's this bass line from? I recognise it. I recognise it from somewhere because this sounds like a collection of 80s MIDI patterns. Now, who is this, Dave? You're looking like you're trying to recall. Anyway, this was a demo that he put, and basically Asiohead has built in the chat room. This is his Phase 57 blog.phase57. Made this Ambika, and you could buy this from Mutable Instruments. You buy the various motherboards, and then you get a parts list which looks like this, which is kind of. It's great. It's got all the serial numbers for the various suppliers on Mouser, Farnell, Asiohead, or DigiKey. These are presumably, because some of these you're going to have to find various different suppliers. And then you can build it. In fact, you can have it built for you, but you can't buy it assembled as in, from them. But there are apparently a few people that will build it for you. And it's going to be, I think it's around €1,000 built. That's a 6-voice. But that will run as 6 voices or multi-timbral instances of those, a bit like the mono machine, the Electron thing, which you can run as a 6-voice or 4 1-voices and a duo, or a 4-voice and 2 monos, that sort of thing. And Dave, you passed this on when I was having a slightly bereft week of topics, and actually I did get this from Asiohead as well. And it sounds pretty nice. I thoroughly recommend people go and check it out. Tempted?
Not at making something. I think that's what kind of fascinated me more than anything. A, it sounds great, and B, somebody's taken the time and had the patience to put all of that together, order all the bits in, assemble it. And actually, the blog's brilliant.
Yeah,
there's loads of things that made me chuckle on there. The big box from Mouser Electronics. Like, I've seen that so many times when we've gone to pick up synths that we've had repaired.
Here it is. There it is, the big box, and of course the rather sexy soldering station.
Yeah, you see, my soldering's just crap, so I think I would do a really bad job of this. But I have to say, when Asiohead sent this to me, I kind of listened to it. I wasn't really expecting that much, and then it just really rips. It really rips, and it sounds great. I think he's done an amazing job.
I'm not totally clear whether or not those presets are something that have come sort of when you buy the ROM, or you get presumably get the OS image that you blast into some kind of ASIC chip or whatever it may be. I mean, I'm completely stabbing in the dark. Perhaps Asiohead in the chat room can mention, can give us an idea what that might be, how you where those presets come, or whether you build them. Because I mean the thing that I don't understand, or I've been wrestling with this week actually, because I've been trying to work on a tune, is interfaces to synthesizers, because I just think, right, I want to get this sound, and it takes me such a long time to flip through some presets or try and build it from scratch on a soft synth that I actually just ended up turning on the Jupiter 6, and just then I was like, oh, how do I record that? It was just, honestly, I was just going to a complete workflow mess, and it made me realise that I really need to sort that out sharpish if I want to do anything serious, because I haven't really got a way of making a noise in this setup. It's all geared around video and the podcast audio, so I'm really going to have to work on that. But anyway, that's another matter. I know, Mark, you're a circuit bending sort of chap. Would you tackle something like this? I mean, I think
it looks very interesting. It reminds me of why I got into all this stuff in the first place, which was, well, actually, how I got into all of this stuff in the first place was I did an electronics option in my physics O-level, because I discovered that if I did that, I didn't have to have tuition from our idiot teacher. Sorry, that's unfair, actually. The teacher that, as a pretentious teenager, I didn't particularly like. So I did the electronics option, and me and my friend Scott Brynan, who was into all the project electronic stuff, we kind of self-taught ourselves out of the physics books and built lots of this stuff from Maplin. So,
yes, Maplin.
So, and there was a book by a guy called, I might get this wrong actually, Penfold, Roger Penfold, is that right? MIDI. So
Penfold does ring a bell, actually.
He's one of the first guys that came out with electronic music projects and stuff, and I used to build all sorts of weird stuff, and that's why I got into the circuit bending thing, and the whole idea of poking around with the soldering iron it's kind of appeals to me actually. So I hope I don't get distracted by this.
Well, as far as I can tell, the bits are going to cost around about 650, 700 euros.
Yeah, it sounded good as well.
But then you'd have to build it, obviously. But people will build it for you for, I guess, it's going to be a couple of 200, 300 euros, depending on where they get the parts from. And as Asiohead said in the chat room, the price really depends on where you can source your parts, because sometimes, Farnell might not have, 12 of the things you need and all that kind of stuff. So, he also said, because you can give a couple of different filter types, there's voice types, there's a Moog style voice card coming, which sounds like it could be fun. And as I understand it, the chap who's behind Mutable is perhaps building some Eurorack type stuff, which would be very interesting. I'd certainly like to try that out for sure. But good stuff. I like the idea of it, and I'm thinking actually, by building it, you're going to be so. I mean, we've been running some things recently about the value of ignoring presets and learning your instrument, and I guess building the instrument will really make sure that you kind of know it incredibly well, because you'll be so familiar. You'll have to know all the parameters to ensure it tests properly, right, Dave?
Absolutely, and that's the thing that really struck me about it in the first place. I know people who've assembled. Remember, in fact, it's funny that Mark say about their Maplin stuff, because they used to make these synths, the 5,600 and whatnot, which are actually really expensive if you can find them working nowadays. But I mean, we're going back to the 70s. They're a kind of weird EMS type synth, but they were always built really badly. But the chances are to check all of that would have been a complete nightmare. So that's what I really liked about this. First of all, it looked like it was. All the components look really robust, that little, the display unit and stuff like that. And secondly, like we said before, there is no chance that you are going to have to, well, there's just no choice, but you're just going to have to explore this in depth if you can. Yeah.
Well, Asio said in the chat room that he's also done some modifications to the functionality and tweaked the code a bit, which sounds like great fun as well. Yes, Lagrange Audio, Native ES Power Track. Actually, Mark, we first met at in person after sort of working virtually for 5 or 6 years together at the Cambridge Synth DIY meet, which Paul Maddox is involved in. And I don't know if you recall, but there was a massive Transcendent 2000 or a massive Maplin synthesizer, which we were really...
They had a Maplin synth.
Both really enamoured with, but it sadly wasn't working fully, so we couldn't get to see it.
It's fascinating because the Powertrans stuff, a lot of it was designed by that Tim Orr, who worked for EMS as well. And then obviously the Maplin stuff.
My really favourite thing ever, and I've still got it, is a Powertran MCS1, which is a MIDI-controlled sampler.
Ah, yeah.
But the thing is, it did loop recording way before everything else, because it's really a delay unit, and you can just flick a button on the front or press a button on the front, and it switches it from being a delay unit into a sampler that can record things. But if you use it as a delay unit and switch the click on, you can play to a click, and then you press the button on the front and turn it into a sampler, and if you start in the right place on the click, you then end up with something that you can trigger. So you create loops and then trigger them.
There's something to be said for delays, isn't there? Which might prove to be a link into our next topic, actually. Dave, what do you think? I think Dave sent me a list of topics, and it just so happens that's just a perfect opportunity for a link. So I'm going to press the button, and Dave can tell us. Oh, I might press the button that actually works. That's it. That's the one.
Oh God.
This is Dave actually was talking about, because Does sound remarkably lovely. Is there a spring reverb going on in there as well in that? There's quite a lot of reverby stuff going on. Oh.
Yeah, enough of that.
You know what? That reminds me of Wally Badarou on the Grace Jones record. I can't remember the name of the track, but of the Island Years. So, Dave, you were basically, because, I mean, you know, as you know, both myself, I used to have an analog delay pedal, and you were looking into getting some delays for your analog synths because they just go together so beautifully, delay and analog synthesizers. But so what was? Tell us the story.
Really interesting. We've got an absolutely beautiful Space Echo, but it's kind of written in stone that belongs with the AKS, the EMS AKS, because the two of them just work so beautifully together. So as and when I've got this kind of room together, which was only really in the last couple of weeks, I started thinking, okay, so what I want to do, Chris and I want to do a video of us noodling around, you know, now and again, as I want to do. So I've got the big modular there, I've got the other modular there, so basically I'm kind of setting it up like 3 or 4 stations, and I want each station to go into a line mixer, and then I want to send from a line mixer into a really good delay. So we started looking at delays, and we've bought a couple of really old copycat valve delays, which actually I didn't get a chance to plumb in. But the delay that I really, really, really want is this tape. It's a full tone delay, and it's a tape, and it's really, really expensive.
It's like a make. It's like an
Echoplex.
Echoplex, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I had an Echoplex a long time ago, and I'm really sad that I got rid of it. But it's really expensive. I think the full tone is something like $1,700.
Yeah, no, I did have a look at it. Yeah, they're definitely.
So I kind of went, yeah, I can't really do that. And then somebody, I was sort of saying that this is what I wanted to do on my Facebook page, and somebody came up, a really interesting guy, who pointed me in the direction of these Strymon effects pedals, which I'd never heard of before. Now, the El Capistan is all DSP, it's sharp chip, and I thought, oh, it'll be worth a try. And I have to say that when I went to the website, I thought the demos were just brilliant. There was one with a synth on it with a Juno 6, but actually even the guitar stuff, I was like, oh, it's really tasteful. It all sounds kind of really musical. So I persuaded Chris that we absolutely needed one. And I got it through, and honestly, I think it's amazing.
It does sound nice. It's got a lot of creaminess to it, from what I can gather. It just really does sound like it's almost
It's so controllable as well. You know, sometimes the 201, the Space Echo that we've got, even though it's been completely restored and stuff, it can get a little bit random, and you've got a particular knob position, particularly on the feedback side of things, where sometimes it works exactly as you want, and then other times it's a little bit haywire and wayward, whereas this is really brilliantly precise. And you've got the wow and flutter knob, you've got the kind of tape age knob, which obviously decreases some of the high-end stuff and saturates the bottom end. There is a couple of hidden modes as well that you can boost spring reverb type stuff. Yeah. But yeah, really, I mean, honestly, really impressed. And I've been playing with it like ever since I've got it, and it's so rare that I get a piece of kit that I just can't leave alone. So now I'm trying to persuade.
It's interesting that they've put that's got a Shark DSP chip just dedicated. These are the Shark DSPs, are the same things that you get in the Universal Audio products. They're very powerful. You also got them. They put Sharks in a lot of the Creamware stuff, wasn't it?
Well, John Solaris uses Shark. Yeah. And I mean, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. But the fact that they've devoted everything Shark chip based to this one gizmo.
Yeah, it's a couple hundred quid, isn't it? 240 quid, something
240
like that.
quid, and I thought, yep, that'll do. In fact, now I'm trying to persuade Chris that we desperately need the.
It's mono though, right?
Well, it's mono in, but it's stereo out if you want.
What? So you can pan the reverb, so can you pan the reverb or the dry and the wet? Do
you know, it's funny, I've only got as far as plumbing it into the little Pro DGX, the Pro Soloist, which has only got a mono. So I haven't got as far as actually plumbing it in stereo yet. Because at the minute I'm kind of going, actually, if we had one for that instrument and one for that instrument and another one for that.
What you need, Dave, is might be better to get, say, 2 or 3 and have them permanently set to specific kind of lengths of delays, and then just have a matrix, a send matrix, so you can send any synth to it, and then foot pedals for modifying. Because what does the expression do? Does it modify the... it's got an expression input, hasn't it?
Yeah, the time. And actually, that's why I wanted pedals as opposed to racks, because obviously when you're noodling around on the synths, you've got your hands full, and I wanted I wanted to be able to do a tap tempo. So I'd already bought a Boss Giga delay thing over for one of the sections, which is nice, but it's just not the same league as this. I mean, really, the difference is chalk and cheese.
That's funny. It's funny you should say that you're that with delays today, because you're talking about the what was the tape echo that you were talking about? The Echoplex, which is something that is very much the sound of Portishead, and Golfrap use it a lot as well. And incidentally, Adrian Utley is live blogging for us right now in his massively overheated studio. He's doing an analog synth remix, and he said it's so hot that none of the synths are behaving themselves because the electronics are just... I've never seen Aid wearing shorts, and he's wearing shorts. But he's just posted a whole load of pictures of stuff. So if you go and check that on the site, there should be a banner up there somewhere saying how to get to it. Mark, do you have any kind of particular delay pedal type stuff? I mean, I know you work very much in the box, but I mean, have you not any desire for that sort of thing?
Well, apart from the one I mentioned, the Powertran MCX1.
Yes. That's it.
But that's a very, very early, a very early digital thing, and I like very early digital things. They have a different quality to them than the modern digital things, or even things that try to emulate early digital things. So if you put me in a studio and I didn't find an AMS delay, then I would probably be disappointed, because I like them as well. They've got their own kind of sound to them. Or Bell delays, I like them as well.
The Bell BD80. Well, they were what you used to use for sampling, weren't they? Because they had a little remote with a trigger, so you could record up to 17 seconds in them, and then you could just spin it in and spin it back to tape.
See, I kind of was thinking about this the other day. I'm not totally convinced by some of the semi-pro gear that comes out that the noise floor is good enough for some of the professional recording. So those really expensive high-end delays definitely had like a lower noise floor than the stuff we play around with on guitars or at home in home recording. Like the Bell BD80, I'm sure that's got like, maybe I'm having some nostalgic moment here, but I mean, I don't remember it being as noisy as some of the stuff that I use at home. Like the Powertran, for example, just sounds like it's got a white noise generator. It's extraordinarily low quality and noisy. But
I'm just curiously, is the Bell? Wasn't Bell some sort of US-based telephonic company?
They were.
Yeah, Bell Labs.
Is it Packard Bell or Bell Labs? Was that who made it then? Do you think it was originally a broadcast or some sort of item, perhaps? It seems unusual that they would have built such a sort of... Because, I mean, every studio, when I first started out, you know, and when I used to go into studios when I was sort of 16, 17, the Bell was what you used. Before samplers came along, that was it. Everyone had one. So, and it just seems strange that would have been built by a sort of fairly pedestrian electronics company.
Well, they kind of... But I think they pretty much invented the idea of digitizing audio because they wanted to get more conversations down less wires.
Yeah.
So they want, you know, 1,000 conversations going down one copper wire. That's gonna save them money on laying cables across the sea. Of course, we don't have to do that anymore. But at that time in the 1970s, I think somebody must have just taken that technology and used it in a different way.
Oh, wow. According to Tribix in the chat room, Bell Labs built all kinds of wacky high-tech stuff, like the first supersonic aircraft.
And a synth.
A synth?
Yeah. The Bell Labs digital synth was built in the 70s.
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to have to check some of this stuff out. The Bell X1.
Oh, yeah, man, that was mega. If that's the same, that's the same company? Wow.
That
like
is well. I never
Chuck
knew any.
Yeager.
I'm gonna have to dig that out and have a look at it. Well, perhaps I won't. I'll see if I can dig it up, find a link and stick it in the chat room. The Bell X1. I'm going to type that in now. See if I can bring it.
Well, no, I'm going to go off on a slight sidetrack. When I was in a band in the 1970s with my schoolmates, and the band eventually went on to become a band called the Crop Dusters after they threw me out, they they said to me, "When are you going to buy an amplifier?" And I said, "Well, I'm not. I'm kind of into home recording, so I want to buy this analog delay unit." And they got very cross with me, and they said, "Why do you want to buy that? So you can repeat all your mistakes."
Oh, nice.
Oh, right. At which point you told them something.
Then we parted ways, and I
Yeah,
became a man who records things at home in his bedroom, and then went on to do like kind of
to
expand
work
home
professionally
recording
in the
into-
business for
Yeah,
several years,
exactly.
very successfully. And is there any crowing to be had? Are they?
I don't know, no, because they were very successful as well. So I don't
okay.
think anybody's won anything. They're still going as well. That's the most extraordinary part.
Good for them.
And they're one of Dave Robinson's favourite bands, if I remember rightly. So
Okay. Well, there's enough
All
clues
sorts
in
of
there for you to
strange
find out. You have pop pickers, exactly who we're talking about, without names
Yep.
being mentioned. I like it. Nicely done there. Oops. Excuse me. That's a sudden sneezing fit. Well, I think now perhaps is the time to bring up the word from our sponsors, and we'll obviously announce the winner of the competition that we set last week. Of course, if the ad actually plays, which I'm hoping it will at some point very soon. Yeah, there we go. This is Isotope, our sponsors. Isotope, of course, makers of many things, but at the moment we're talking about Stutter Edit, which is an effect you play like an instrument. It's kind of great for cut-ups and slicing and mangling, real-time remixing kind of stuff. It's made in conjunction with BT, Brian Transu, who famously did a lot of this stuff by hand and was obviously looking for a way to make it not so. Remix in real time on stage or in a production studio. You can play it from a MIDI keyboard. Instant results. You put it on across a bus or a master bus or whatever. 800 presets as well as lots of free expansions. Cutting edge audio slicing and manipulation. You can slice, chop, reverse, switch up. You can almost get granular with it as well. 10-day free trial available by going to isotope.com/stutteredit. Practical applications. You can build turnarounds and fills for dance, make samples and just use them in all sorts of interesting ways. It really is quite an astonishing plugin, as are many of the Isotope plugins, which is why we're proud to have them as a sponsor. And don't forget isotope.com/stutteredit. Now, you remember last week we set a competition which, on our Logic X episode, which seemed to have garnered an awful lot of responses in the comments, but none of them actually, or very, very few of them, responses to the entries to the competition. In fact, I think there were only 2. So if you'd entered last week, you stood a very good chance of winning something. And Karodani, who posted 6 days ago, so that would have been the day that the episode was posted, has posted something that I've chosen, I mean, I'm not belittling what he wrote, but there was very little choice in the way that this worked. But anyway, he wants to enter the contest. How far will I go for the perfect edits? Easy answer: there's no such thing as perfection. Especially talking about creativity, then there could be some commercial standard. But again, it's about the fashion of the moment and the targeted market. So if I'm having fun, I will go on to edit non-stop because of the fun of editing itself. If I have a clear goal, such as a date or a client request, it will be much easier. I guess that's a non-answer, but perfection is a non-concept, which I think is quite a neat little statement. So I will get in touch with him. He wins a copy of Stutter Edit, and the Isotope Fairy will bestow that into his email account or setup account. So there we go. And there is no competition this week, just purely because I think we could take a little bit of a break, save Isotope a little bit of money. Give them a break. I'm sure that I think everyone's posting their yearly results, and I don't want to skew the figures too much for them. I'm sure that won't be the case.
I just think we need to clear something up on that last topic, because I think I've got a bit of a problem with my bell end.
No, I was wondering when there was going to come in there. I'm surprised you've left it so long. Has it taken that long to percolate?
No, well, Bell BD80 was spelt BEL, and everybody's talking about Bell
BLL.
BELL, and I've got a feeling that Bell BEL is different to BELL.
Ah, well, it was a nice riff.
We need to research that. So the end of the bell, there is no second L on the end of the bell.
Yeah, you're right.
In terms of the delay.
Absolutely
right. Got one L. So it's probably not the same company.
And this is what it looked like. That's a Bell BD80 there.
Yeah, awesome.
Actually, I seem to remember there was one that was kind of more of a fawn or taupe colour, but perhaps before that.
Yeah.
But
well, slightly grey.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Bell did. Yeah, we're talking about different bells. So as you're right, Mark, it's all about the end of the bell. That it's all in the end. And I think I'm managing to hop around that without encouraging any kind of adult supervision for listening to this podcast. So anyway, I also wanted to say the last week the topic got a lot of response, and one thing, because you were saying that you had trouble with a lot of those legacy plugins like the guitar amp plugin that were not long there. Apparently, if you hold down Option when you click on the plugin, you can see all of those, and they are still in fact there, which is a really strange way of doing that. Why don't they just put them in the menu in the first place?
Yeah, somebody pointed that out to me, and thank you for pointing that out, because
that was Velocipede in the chat room.
Saved me from finding it in the manual.
Yes, which of course none of us are unlikely to read. Since we've been using Logic for sort of 6 iterations. It's unlikely that we're now going to go back to the manual and start reading it.
But I've got manuals all around the bloody place. The manual from 7 and the manual from 8. These huge, great big boxes full of books. Which are nice, actually, because at least it gives you the possibility of reading them in the bath, actually, which you can't do with the digital manual. But when I'm working, I'm so unlikely to stop in the middle of what I'm doing and then go, oh, how do I do this? I'll just have to do it whatever way it needs to be done in the quickest kind of way. I'm not going to stop for like an hour and read the manual on how to do something when I'm trying to...
Well, hopefully you would use what I think they call it the index to look up what it is. You wouldn't have to read it from cover to cover to find out what you need. But yes, I take your point.
So. I mean, the way I used to do it in the olden days was I used to dial 01462 something 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 something, and then I would speak to somebody from eMagic's distribution.
Oh, you know what? It was their number was something like 48,000 or 44,100. They did the sample. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'd talk to what were they called? Sound Technology.
Sound Technology.
I think it was
brilliant. They had a helpline and everything. You could speak to a human being and go, and it's probably where the RTFM acronym came from. But you just say, like,
just from you ringing up.
This, and I've been trying to do this, and they'd go, hang on a minute. Okay, you do this, 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 and this, and this. And I must admit that thanks to a lot of those phone calls, that's probably how I learned to use some of the more in-depth features.
You're honest about it. Okay. Well, no, it's good admission there. I very much appreciate that one. And I still haven't uploaded it yet, but it seems to have made the news. I mean, it's mentioned in a lot of places, so I'm hoping it's actually going to do well. I will get around to it. I've got to find a drive. I've got to buy a new operating system, install it on that, and then run it remote on a second boot drive because I don't want to update to Anyway, it's all fairly dull. I'm sure you don't really want to know. Actually, somebody might know this in the chat room. I nearly bought the Mountain Lion update via the App Store, but I wasn't entirely sure what was going to happen if I downloaded it, whether it would just auto-install or whether there'd be a disk image I could make a DVD from, and then I could burn it onto whatever drive I wanted. Does anyone know the answer to that?
I know the answer to that. It saves it on your hard drive, and you can double-click on it. And when you double-click on it, you can choose which drive you install it onto, so you don't have to write over your existing operating system. You can, if you plug in an external drive, you could install it to your external drive.
Okay, I might well do that.
It ends up in a fairly well hidden kind of spot on your computer, or depending which operating system you currently have. If you've got Snow Leopard, I think it ends up in your apps folder, but if you've got anything after that, it ends up in a weird little hidden folder, and you have to go and hunt for it. And you can also drag it off onto a separate drive.
Okay.
And there's a way of turning it into a bootable USB stick as well, which I'll send you the information about after the show if you like.
Yes, well, I will, because it's that the Mountain Lion's only 14 quid or something. I mean, it's very reasonably priced, so it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. That.
Yeah.
I suppose we could move on to another topic. We've done a couple. We sort of went round and round, so we've done that one. Does anyone have any do you want to do something about the piano? Is that something of interest to you? Because I'd really like to do something about that. Well, I've got two that I'd like to do, but I've also got the sound map thing. Aporee. Did anyone see that? Neo Scenes?
Oh, that was quite interesting.
That's really interesting. And also, the other thing that we've got that we could talk about was, well, there's that Raspberry Pi application, which just I want to write to the bloke and beg him to give me that image so I can do what he did without having to learn how to program the entire thing. Anyone have any suggestions or anything that they've particularly researched that would like to cover before I ride roughshod over their wishes and blow them?
Go on, you choose.
I'll choose then.
Cool.
Well, let's do. We could do this thing. Let's have a look. I would like to do this sound maps thing, because this came via Google in the chat room a couple of weeks ago, and I had a chance to check it out. Now, if I could just find it, it is here somewhere. Here we go. Basically, this is it's called Aporee.org maps. I think what I've actually accidentally done. Right, What we got is like a sort of a Google Maps type thing. I think I've just posted something that says I might be in Taiwan, but I'm not. I'm here in Bath. This little application, basically, these are locations all over the world where people have uploaded sound clips. So you can go, say, let's have a look at this. This looks interesting. This is what's this? Norway. This is the sound of this part of Norway that's been uploaded. Sounds like there's a lot of birds going. Guillemots, in fact, I believe. So, or we can zoom right out and let's maybe go. Let's go somewhere else. Somewhere. Gosh, I can't believe how much Finland looks like an old man's Tadger. Anyway, always have thought that. Where are we now? Let's get out of Europe and maybe head over to somewhere a bit more exotic. What's this place over here? Oh, that looks interesting. Where's that? Somebody playing in Croatia, playing a guitar. I'm not sure is the idea of this, but let's see where else we can go. And what it is people you can post if you can go anywhere on this map and you can upload, and it's absolute. What I found it was absolutely fascinating, because I just ended up wandering around the world going, oh, what it sounds like there. And a lot of them are just sounds of the atmosphere. So you can go into major cities and hear like what the street sounds like, and they're actually really tightly packed. And I didn't, there must have been people posting them for years. I mean, I think it's been going since 2006. This project. It's called Radio Aporee, and you can click on a map. You could, if you record something on your computer. I know, Mark, you're very fond of audio boos and that kind of thing, and it just seems like such a brilliant idea because it's so evocative. It's like radio, and you could just Google it. It says you spent days listening to a day listening to things, and that's exactly how I felt. I just sort of wandered around, going, "Oh, what it sounds like there." Did you get a chance to listen to anything there, Dave? What did you think? It's a great idea, isn't it?
Yeah. I dotted around all over the world. There was a great website, I think it was called thequietamerican.org, which was great, similar kind of thing, but obviously I think the guy had lived in like Vietnam and stuff, and he just used to go out and record with his little DAT thing and then just upload bits and pieces. But this, I got lost like everybody else did. It's really bizarre things as well, wasn't there? Like kind of train tunnels and water coming through some kind of weird man-made tunnel. Just really bizarre.
Well, the cool thing is you can download the sounds as well in many cases, which is just a really cool idea. So you could just basically go anywhere and go. And I imagine it must be very good for if you're doing ambient music or you're doing soundtracks and you want to do some layoffs and stuff. I mean, it's all sort of open source and Creative Commons and what have you. But it's not only that, it's just a fantastic kind of. Yeah, I don't know what the licensing. I think actually it's Creative Commons. I think the license you can say when you post it. I think you can say what you want the license to be. So this, the Creative Commons, what our licenses do. Yes, you can do that. So pretty neat. And Mark, I imagine this appeals to you. Have you sent anything up yet?
No, I haven't sent anything up. It's absolutely up my street though. I mean, it reminds me of freesound.org in a way, which is also one of the most useful places for going and collecting sounds. When I'm doing my podcast, I almost always go and find things on there. But I do like the idea that it's all sitting on top of a map, and you can see exactly where it was recorded, and
it really
it's sort of something fascinating about knowing what things sound like in other places.
Exactly. It's kind of like the way that radio works, isn't it? Because your imagination is immediately filling in the details of the landscape. You can't but help think, I know what this looks like, but just by listening to what's going on and the sound. A lot of it's the sound of kind of wind and space and waves and water and wind in trees and bird song and stuff like that. And that's what I just absolutely love about it, because you could just go anywhere, you know, pretty much where and there are a lot of these. Some of them are really, really miles and miles away from anywhere in that you would imagine. So I mean, there's some stuff, you know, in parts of Africa that are just seem like they're in the middle of, oh, that's in a city, I suppose. And people posting sort of recordings of indigenous music and what have you, which I think is really cool. What's that? Is that oh, it's a city. I was hoping to be a beach, but it's a brilliantly envisaged app.
Et qu'il est bon et caressant. Et puis si je vais, il s'écouche. Un bon chien, c'est obéissant.
God, it's massive. I didn't realise how much of it's so populated.
I mean, the fact that it's...
Carry on, yeah, this is just an atmosphere that will play below it. Why ever not?
I mean, the fact that it's available as an i-app means that anybody with an iPhone...
Oh, is it? I thought it was only Android at the moment, and the i-app was beta.
It's in the App Store.
Oh, is it? Oh, fantastic. That must be updated. That's great.
But it just means I mean, I don't know what Android phones' microphones are like, but I actually think the microphone in the iPhone is quite reasonable. It was in the iPhone 3. I actually got worse in the 3GS, but it's still reasonable, I suppose. So it means that anybody can upload this stuff and sort of... you know, it means that we've got the possibility of hearing all sorts of things from around the world, and it can only get better, can't it?
Yeah, I just think it's such a brilliant idea.
Until the spammers get hold of it, of course.
Oh, yeah, and then it'll just be... actually, yeah, that's a really good idea. Maybe what I should do is populate it with adverts for Sonic Talk. Oh, wouldn't that be awful?
Please don't do that.
No, I'm not going to do that, don't worry.
But somebody's probably going to be doing that, aren't they?
I would imagine that there's some sort of curation of what's going on here. I'm fairly sure, because there's a lot of stuff there, and I'm pretty sure that there would be that's a really... There could be a game, couldn't there, which is basically I'll plant the Sonic Talk intro somewhere in the world.
Yeah, it's like Where's Wally, but
and the winner wins something, you know, like... they get the county court injunction. They get the cease and desist. A copy of the cease and desist.
They have to really be there, though, don't they?
I don't know whether you can or not. No, I'm not sure. But interesting. Yeah,
maybe you can trick your iPhone into thinking that you're somewhere else.
Ah, so it would geotag it. Well, you can know, because you can upload it via the website by clicking on the map, and apparently there's a way to upload from the website.
What is that in the background?
This is in Croatia again. There's a lot in Croatia. I seem to be gravitating to Croatia. This is within the last day. This is posted, and it's the Sobieskio Giergo housing estate, Novigrad, Croatia.
Okay.
With the cockerel crowing and what have you, and it's a 6-minute ambience. Great start. Oh, what's going on there? Dave just dropped off, did he? I think we lost Dave. Are you still there, Mark?
I'm still here.
Okay, we'll find Dave. It was that last bit of Croatian mention. I'd like to go on holiday somewhere in Croatia one day, and now I can research it with the sound. But it's just such a brilliant idea. So if you want to check that out, go to Aporee, APOREE.org, and it's just you could spend, yeah,
your whole life.
You spend your whole life in there easily. I don't know how many hours of audio there is, but it's absolutely brilliant.
I often spend a very, very, very long time in Freesound, so it's very easy to get lost.
Yeah, lovely. Though.
Some of the quality of some of the stuff that people record is absolutely extraordinary in Freesound, and then they always tell you exactly which microphones they used and which recorder they've used and all that sort of stuff, and everything's tagged by recorder, so you can actually go and work out which recorders sound good for certain things, which mics have low noise floor, and all that sort of stuff. Oh,
that's a great idea. I don't know whether you can upload that as much information. I suppose you could put it up there if you wanted to, but yeah, that is really neat. Dave's back again. So yeah,
sorry, I don't know what happened there. I'm running 2 broadband lines at the minute, and I think I was on the wrong one.
Ah, okay. Oh yeah, your video just got better.
Oh, there you go. See, this is BT video. The other one was Virgin video.
Ah, Virgin video. I'll pause there for somebody to. You just think about the gag. We don't actually have to say it. There we go.
Yeah. Leave it all in fly.
Leave it all into your imagination. A bit like the Aporee kind of system. Fantastic stuff. I think we've got time for another quick one. So we could talk about. We've done the delays thing. I think we could talk about the this compelling Raspberry Pi advert audio application, which I just think is awesome. And this is here it comes. Probably. Some point in the future. There it is. This is by a chap called Servando Barreiro, and it was a video that was accompanying an article on Create Digital Music. And this is there's a Raspberry Pi there, a Monotron, and something that he's written in something called Pure Data, which is a programming language that is open source that runs on a variety of platforms and can run on a Raspberry fork called Satellite, so you have to download it. But I'm going to try and write to him and see if it's possible to get hold of like a pre-made image and make that available, because I think this is just awesome. And I think what he's doing here is just creating a load of layering a load of sounds on 4 individual looping channels and it's also got various effects on it, and it just sounds awesome for making these beautiful sort of ambient kind of pads and textures. And the fact that it's running on a 25 quid computer with a sort of 40 quid controller, there's something about it that makes me very happy. I think Dave's about to join in with something over there. Is that on the 505? Are you on the... Or is it out of key? Anyway, I'm not going to play it forever, but Dave, I thought you were about to join in there. Were you inspired, like I was?
It's really fascinating. I love this, but actually it's the way that I get certain sounds out of the 8 voice. Because in effect what you're doing is you're playing one key, and then you're just tuning each of the 16 oscillators to different notes. And then again via a delay you can get this kind of these lovely beautiful textures. I did a YouTube video on the 8 voice, which has had an inordinate, it's about 100,000 hits now.
Nice.
And there's a sound that I use to open it up, which is, again, a single note chord. But it's slurred and kind of played, with a little bit of cut off and stuff, and people have just gone, I hear the sound of God. And I love the fact that I produced that once and it will never be produced again. And that's what really struck me about this, is that it was a similar kind of concept. And it just sounds so lush.
Yeah, it's really nice. And later on in the video, he gets into kind of adding. I think there's a little bit of reverb and some fuzz, and other things going on. And it's just the moment of it that I really like. And that's the thing I've been working on this project, or attempting to, and found myself just reaching for the Jupiter 6, and having an interface that you could even on that level. He built this image, he built this thing. He's got this controllability and a Monotron as an input. Just a great idea, and I like the idea of that layering of text, because you can buy synths, and there are software synths and hardware synths. Isn't Shruti also by the Mutable Instruments? That's a drone making machine as well, and the drones are really kind of quite a unique and sort of in their own sort of genre of sounds. They work really, really nicely, I think.
Yeah.
Mark, gonna get a Raspberry Pi yet? Then has that convinced you?
Not yet.
I don't know. Got an iPad, hasn't got a Raspberry Pi.
No, I'm going to be another 5 years behind on that. Maybe I'll get the next one when they bring out the next one.
Well, like I say, what I'd like to try and do, I mean, this is one thing, is to host. I think I've talked about this before. Is to try and collect images of instruments that will just work if you plug a MIDI controller in them, so you can play them. And just so that you could get a Raspberry Pi, and then you can download these SD card images that maybe we can put somewhere that people could download. But I just need to kind of get my head around. I don't know how much configurability there needs to be. Whether you've got to get in there with command line stuff, because I think you probably do in a lot of cases, and that's going to be beyond a lot of people. But if you could drop like 40 quid on a Raspberry Pi and an interface, and a case.
Yeah.
and a power supply, and then just plug your MIDI keyboard in and have it make some wacky stuff. That's just such a great concept to me. I
agree. I think that would be brilliant, actually, yes.
But I don't think anybody else has yet. So it's still very much in my, The chat room are saying that maybe the next one will be a strawberry pie. I quite like the idea of that. Strawberry pie, mud pie,
blueberry pie,
fir pie, all those things. But yeah, that was great. So that chap is he's a really kind of performance artist. He's called, like I say, Servando Barreiro, and he wrote this piece on Create Digital Music, which is a great piece. So it's well worth checking out if you get the opportunity. And likewise, it's worth. I think Raspberry Pis are actually quite easy to come by now. I think because they sold so many of them, they had trouble scaling up from their kind of we can build 1,000 to we need to build 100,000. And as I say, the Raspberry Pi runs over here. It's great because there's basically I've got a 40-inch LCD TV, which is just monstrously large, driven by this tiny little box, which there's something about that just it still gives me pleasure. I have to show it to everybody who comes in. See, look, that TV, it's been driven off that tiny little box. I'm the only one now, I think.
I don't know. No, I'm with you on that. I like these tiny little boxes that can do extremely clever things. I think I don't know. I mean, no, I'm not going to go into that story.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see what else we've got. I think there's another topic we can probably squeeze in. Oh, there was a Billboard article about fade out or end cold, and I thought that was quite interesting because the challenge, I mean, it's pretty easy to repeat to fade in the chorus and just kind of, that's all you do, and you don't have to come up with an ending. I'm just loading the webpage now, which is why I'm backpedaling a little bit because I hadn't anticipated getting this far. But unfortunately, it's not loading for some reason. But essentially, the gist of the article was really just about. I think we've talked about fades before and the types of fades, and I think Gaz was talking about the S being the best because then you get the sudden and then the gradual fade out at the end. But the idea of coming up with endings for songs, alternatives to fades, is quite an interesting idea because, I mean, it's very easy to kind of just come up with a really cheesy ending. But it's harder to come up with an actual. And I'm trying to think, actually, if any of the remixes or tracks I've done, I've actually ever come up with an ending and not just gone for the fade out. And I'm wondering you have you, Mark?
I was asked to do just this the other day. I did a remix for somebody, and I did this beautiful fade, and it just kind of disappeared into nothing, and I thought that's really nice. Sent it off to the guy that I did it for, and he sent me an email back. He said, I love everything apart from the end. Can we have it not fade out? And the reason he wanted it not to fade out is because he wanted DJs to be able to spin it into the next record. So in the end, he said to me, can we have it end on the guitar you played on it? And so basically the track ends, and then it's got like about 8 bars of this kind of funk guitar playing just on its own, and then it stops, which is, for me, it's like a very, very weird ending, but it's what he wanted, and it means that anybody could take that piece of guitar and spin it in onto other things. And I kind of like the idea of that. I think maybe you put several bars of the thing that you want people to sample the most on the end of the track, so you kind of finish the track and then ends with like 8 bars of, like, if you're a drummer and you want them to nick your drum riff, you put that on there. Or
yeah, well, it's a very utilitarian solution, isn't it? You put that on there just so that the DJ makes the DJ lively, because it always used to be a fade out you had to do so that you could crossfade or whatever. That's an interesting idea. But and good that you got somebody to actually come up with the idea for you as well, so you didn't have to come up with an ending and kind of record it. Because I mean, you hear it, don't you? Also in jingles in ad jingles where they've taken an existing song and somehow manufactured an ending out of one that wasn't actually there. I know, Dave. Do you like to finish a track properly, or are you a fade out merchant?
I'd never finish a track full stop. Oh God, we did talk about this, didn't we? I always like it when you got real musicians and great players, and then you do a really big extended fade, because that's when the really good musos start to rip. My brother-in-law, Dale, the bass player, you comes up with some fantastic licks, and I'm just like, just keep going, just keep going. So that fade could go on for like 10 minutes. Although I do find that the best way to end a song is just to go da 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 da.
Yeah, all variations of thereof. That's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing. There are only so many of those that you can do. Yeah. You can leave, or the sort of weird chord that just sort of jazzes it up at the end.
Oh, I'm guilty of those, I have to say.
I had a feeling you might be.
Yes.
And as a drummer too. What about a bit of cymbal tinkling?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, mark trees and bell trees. God, I hate that. The endings of song with mark trees. Did you know that Chris once, I forget who it was quite it was a very, very famous drummer. Might have even been one of Emerson, Lake and somebody. But he sellotaped up the mark tree. So at the end of the song, when he went to kind of do that big thing, it just didn't make a noise. I thought that was brilliant. So yes, skullduggery all around.
I think the thing I always liked about the fade is when you've done it and then you stop record on the DAT. I mean, which obviously you don't do anymore because you don't have a bounce in real time. You usually bounce and go and have a cup of tea. There's a feeling of in terms of the process of the mix, it feels like you've ended it. Do you know what I mean? There's that sort of, and that's missing. There's no closure on the mix because you're just going to go bounce to drive, and then you go and check it out and make sure it didn't snip anything off the end. But I think, and also the other thing about that is actually getting the resolution of the fade is something that you probably really do need to do in analog, really, don't you? Because I mean, a MIDI fade is wrong, sure.
Some fades. I mean, what I use Final Cut Express to do all the video stuff, and when you put like a kind of 2 second or 1 second or 4 second, whatever fade it is, it's such a disgusting curve that it's like nothing, and then everything really quick. You might as well just draw a line across it.
That's because it must be doing a linear curve instead of a logarithmic curve then.
It's just
because how your ear works is your ear actually works like that. It works like nothing, or it works like everything, and then it's loud. So it needs to have a logarithmic curve, which means that it fades out. Oh God, I can't remember.
Does it fade quickly?
Quickly. It doesn't fade out. It doesn't fade out the same amount over the same length of time. It fades out hardly anything at all because your ear hears the changes at higher volume, and then it fades the last bit quite quickly, and then that gives you the impression that it's faded out linearly over time, but your ears don't respond to sound in a linear way. They respond to sound in a logarithmical way.
I see.
Which is why in guitars, electric guitars have logarithmic pots for the volume and linear pots for the tone. And if you put a linear pot on the volume, you turn it down and nothing happens, and you suddenly get to the last bit and it goes whoom, and that's it, gone. So whatever way around that works.
Okay. HT in the chat room says apparently Hawkwind do good fade outs. I'll have to check them out. Well, I know who they are. Obviously, I mean, check the fades out.
I like this. Can I play you this? Okay, this is my favourite fade out of or my favourite ending of the moment. I think I've got it set in the right place.
Sunshine, bring me love, sweet love, bring me fun, bring me sunshine, bring me love.
Did you get that?
Yeah, Eric and Ernie.
Yeah, that's my waking up every morning tune. But they end that with "Bring me sunshine, bring me love," and then they go back round and do another round. Da 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 da. I can't sing at all. Can I?
No, that's true. But that's an ending, though, isn't it? That's a proper ending, and it fades on the sort of reverb tails off.
Eric Borkham going, "Hey!"
I absolutely have no idea how to do endings at all. I think that's it. I think, endings is for people who know how to play musical instruments, and everybody can look at each other and go 3, 4, and they come up with an ending. How do you do it in a band situation, Dave? You played with other musicians. I know you have. I've seen it.
There is proof. What, come up with an ending?
Yeah.
I'll leave it to the guitarist. They're always full of shit. I mean, ideas.
Doesn't the person with the biggest ego win?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's in any band, isn't it? I mean, that's not just in the ending.
Yeah.
That's the last note.
Come on, who's going to end this?
Yeah, especially live. It's like, the drummer. And Chris always has a motto: first one to the end wins, basically.
Ah. You get to see it when you actually get to see it at Glastonbury when the band are all really excited and they're doing their big finish either at the encore or the last song before the encore, and they kind of do this massive finish and then it's done and the drummers do it and then it's like no.
Techno band ends are good sometimes because they can be kind of anthemic and powerful and whatnot.
You'd have to finish on a chord, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, hang on. I think I might have. Yeah, okay. So this is obviously it's Underworld because I'm legally obliged to tout in an Underworld track at least once during the podcast. But this is the end. Ready? Come on.
Yeah, but that wasn't very different to a dun 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 dun.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like the Beatles, wasn't it? The end of All You Need Is Love, almost.
Yes.
Does that finish that way?
Oh,
I can't remember. Anyway, that's it's been a lot of fun this week. I'm sorry that we couldn't stream the video. I will hopefully find out if any of my computers are still working by the time we get to the next week's episode. Then it'll be fine. But failing that, I'll have to figure out another way of streaming. I have another possibility, but it means I'll have to spend the week building machines. And I've got stuff to do, things to review and stuff.
It's not what you need, especially in this heat, sweating over blooming hard drives.
Yeah, no, it's all right. To be honest, it's actually not been too bad this week. The last couple of days have been quite nice, so that's all right. But yes, the video will be available on YouTube, so you can watch this. In fact, this video is available on YouTube. And I want to say thank you very much to everybody for joining us. Thanks for everybody in the chat room for sticking with us and just listening to the audio version only. That means we might get a bit more viewers because they'll come back and want to watch the video maybe, or maybe they like a lot of people saying it's like old school. This is the old school version. Just listen to the audio only and don't have to look at my ugly mug and my video beating shirt, which I didn't realise a tight stripe is a really bad thing to wear on video. Moiré. Anyway, Dave Spiers, GeForceSoftware.com. Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, 64-bit versions available. Did you say? So what's out? Can you give it a plug?
So Mtron Pro's out, VSM's out. We've done a kind of little soft launch of Imp 2. That's out. That's been out since Friday. And then yes, Mini Monster's the only thing that's kind of holding us up at the minute from being able to take a break. And that how irritating is this? This is just a really stupid little standalone bug. That's all it is. Everything else is just all there as far as we're concerned and aware, and it's all been tested beautifully. Anyway, I'll stop ranting now. But yes, that's what we're in.
That's mental. I've just got to say, we were talking about Bell BD80, and Aid has just posted a shot of his Bell BD80 on our live blog. There's an SPX90, a Bell BD80. I'm not sure what that is. That's a space station, Ursa Major space station. So yeah. Anyway, thank you, and we'll go over there and say to Mark Tinley, thank you very much for joining us as well. I appreciate that.
Very excited by the Ursa Major space station.
Well, if you want to see more, Aid is currently working on a mix for a band called Spira in his studio in Bristol, and he's posting sort of live posts from the blog in our new live blog feature. In fact, this one is called rather beautifully C90 Mixdown.
C90.
C90. So yeah, maybe I wouldn't actually be at all surprised if he mixed down.
Is that a cassette thing at the top?
No, that's a
is it that.
That. Oh no, that is 122.
Whoa.
Hold on, that is a 122. You're absolutely right. Maybe he is mixing down to cassette, and the counter is running.
Yeah, certainly ought to.
Fantastic. I'll never forget the time when they worked with Tom Jones, and I was sort of doing programming for them at the time. And Porter said that they did a track with Tom Jones, and he did a cover of All Mine, I think it was. Amazing. They did this mix, and they turned out. And I went over to A's place in Bristol with Jeff was there as well, and they got the acetate back of the test pressing of how I want it to sound. And he said to me, yeah, and Jeff goes, no, it sounds too clean. And he picked it up, he chucked it on the floor, and it had a rattan floor, and he just kind of rubbed it on the floor for a bit. And then Lisa goes, yeah, that's better. And we recorded that into an audio media track up from we had a Technics deck into, some sort of turntable phono preamp into an audio media card, which was only phono inputs, not balanced. And I put that in, and I think I did some edits from that, and that was the final master.
Jesus.
Fantastic. See, just goes to show.
Yeah, just.
I bought something off iTunes the other. Well, first, I have to. My mum gave me all her records, and she said you can have all these records on the condition that you put one of them on CD for me. And I said, okay, great, I can do that. So I put this record on, and it's just so knackered that it was skipping and jumping and everything. So in the end, I looked it up on iTunes and found that I could buy it on iTunes. But having bought it on iTunes and not being able to restore it as well as I'd hoped, when I play the version that I bought from iTunes, it's almost as bad as the one I was recording. It's got like all needle cracks and clicks and pops.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
And I'm thinking the publisher or the record company didn't have the master anymore. They must have had to have gone to Oxfam and bought the record, and all spelling mistakes and everything. I was absolutely shocked.
Oh, I've done that before. I found that. I remember the same sort of thing happening to me when we had agents and publishers and stuff back in those days, and they'd send me their kind of, this is what I want to do for the show reel, and they'd send the show reel and say, yeah, here we go. And I go, can I have a copy of that? And I'd listen, it'd be like, hold on a minute, that's just a recording of the vinyl version of the mix we did. You could have asked me, I could have given you the master, but I guess it wouldn't have been mastered, it would have been pre-mastered, so it probably wouldn't have sounded all that good anyway. So, guys, I want to say thank you for joining us. I also want to say thank you to Isotope for their sponsorship of the show, isotope.com/stutter edit for your 10-day free download. And yes, thank you very much. I'm not sure what Mark was holding up there, but it looked kind of interesting.
It was fire. Gina just walked past me with loads of fire.
Wow. I thought I heard the sound of a one of those crystal firelighters going.
Ignition, yeah. She's igniting things.
Right. Okay.
It's all very exciting here.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Everybody, that was Sonic Talk number 323, and that's it for this week.